Hi, Jet fans. Well, we made a lot of trades. And so in this video, I'd like to take a look, after all of the hullabaloo, at where we actually are in this draft, because you may not know how many picks we actually have. And I put out a tweet to this effect. I'm going to put it up on the screen here to show what it looks like, because when you look at it, it looks pretty amazing. Now, keeping in mind that the exact positions are all going to change based on the records and how far teams go in the playoffs and so forth. For example, our second first round pick this year is currently at number 32 because the Colts have the best record in the league, but they're probably not going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, they might, but so that's probably going to move up, let's be honest. But nonetheless, what we actually have is what I refer to as Muji's 11. You've got the Idzik 12. You've got Ocean's 11. You remember that movie? Then there was Ocean's 12 and 13 and 14, so forth. Well, what about Muji's 11? Because we actually have 11 picks. Now, we have 5 picks within the first 102 selections. Those are the most important. We got to hit on those. We have 2 first-round picks, ours and the Colts. We have 2 second-round picks, number 33 and 47 right now. And as a result of the Quinn and Williams trade, so that makes up for us not having a third-round pick. Then we have a fourth-round pick, which is our own at 102. Those are extremely important picks. Then we have a 5th-round pick. They currently put it at 178. That's actually a comp pick. So I'm including in this the comp picks per over the cap. Over the cap says we're getting 4 comp picks this year. El cuatro. And that's a 5th-round pick. Now, the 5th-round pick, the reason it's not so valuable is because it's going to be at the end of the round. The comp picks come all the way after everybody's already picked. So, and they're normal spots. And so if you remember, we used our own 5th-round pick to get Tyler Barron. Okay, one of the bad things that Mr. Muji did, but nonetheless, maybe Tyler Barron could be something. You never know. He won't be. But then we have our 6th-round pick, and we got 4 7th-round picks. Now, you may say, well, wait a minute. Those 4 7th-round picks are not going to be valuable at all. Who cares about them? Well, if you use them properly, they can be valuable, actually. Because what can you do with a 7th-round pick? First of all, you can get a kicker. We're going to need a long-term kicker. That's where you can get one. You could get something like a fullback, somebody better than Andrew Beck, although he's done a nice job. You could get a blocking tight end there. And you could get, a special teamer, a guy who maybe is a backup punt catcher. Like a backup cornerback, backup punt returner, backup kick returner, something like that. Or one of these running backs. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco went very late, I think, in the 7th round. You can pick up a running back there. And that way, if you want to trade Breece Hall during the season, all right, well, we got other people, for example. So there's lots of things you can do with 7th-round picks. They should be considered sort of like UDFA plus because you don't have to negotiate with them. You have no competition. Once you take them, they're on your team. Unlike UDFAs, they have a choice. You got to negotiate with them. So it's a way to get a jump on UDFAs. It's a way to get a kicker. It's a way to get, specialized positions situated on this team. Now, most importantly, we got to think about the quarterback position, okay? Ideally, we'd like one of Simpson, Mendoza, Moore. That's the ideal that you'd want, according to pretty much everyone, and including myself. Everyone who knows what they're talking about. But the problem is you have people like Urban Meyer today, and Todd McShithead agrees that all 3 of those guys could go back to school. Oh, no. What do we do then? Well, this is where the strategy of this comes into play, right? If those guys go back to school, all of them, and we don't love anybody else, the Duke kid, Mensa, or anybody else kind of rises up the board as a first rounder, then maybe you take a shot in the 4th, 5th round at somebody you want to be a backup, a Josh Hoover. Maybe you take a shot even at a Drew Aller. I mean, at some point, a Drew Aller makes sense. Not as a first-round pick, certainly not. But you take a shot with Drew Aller in the 5th round if he slides. And you think to yourself, well, this is us taking our long-term backup, at least. And maybe they become something else. I love Josh Hoover myself. He's a little small. He's not perfect. That's why you can get him in the 5th round. But can I get a backup, a long-term backup there? That's an important position on a football team these days. You need backup quarterbacks because of how frequently they get hurt and the concussion protocol and all that didn't exist in the old days. Now it does. So at the very least, you want to try to get a backup. Can I get a Josh Hoover? Can I get maybe a Drew Aller? Can I get maybe you like Carson Beck? I don't. Too many interceptions. But somebody like that who would be a value in round 5 that you don't want to take in round 1. Then that way, okay, you bring them in. They compete with Brady Cook. They probably make the team. Cook can stay on the P squad, whatever. But then you need a second veteran, and that's my plan all along. That's the beauty of the plan, because remember, the free agency comes first. So you got to have your plan in place, and I want us to do the Giants plan, which is 2 veterans. We already have one. His name's Justin Fields. And then sign somebody else. I personally like Marcus Mariota. I personally like Jacoby Brissett. But whoever's available. Mac Jones, by the way, is not going to be available. He's on a 2-year deal. Jameis Winston on the Giants, not going to be available. He's on a 2-year deal. He's going to be on the Giants next year, unless they trade him. And I'm not into trading for people's castaways like Kyler Murray or, some of these people. So, but just sign one of these guys that can run the offense well, and then you load up. So then these 5 picks, the first pick, maybe we take Arvell Reese. The second first rounder, maybe we take Caleb Downs. We love our Ohio State boys here. Second round, you take an edge rusher. Then you take a linebacker. And now you're building a ferocious defense. We're going to need defensive tackle very badly. Now you're building a ferocious defense. And then in round 4, you take your second tight end maybe or something like that. Especially if Adonai Mitchell shows you that he can be wide receiver 2, and maybe Mechie shows you he can be wide receiver 3 or Arian Smith. Now you don't necessarily need wide receiver, and you can load up on the D. And then you get a game-managing bridge, Mariota, whoever it may be, Brissett. You're starting to see what Brissett can do out in Arizona. For example, we're going to see what Mariota can do going forward because Daniels is injured again. But you get one of them, and the reason they would want to come here is because of opportunity. You can start. They would look at the landscape and say, all I got to do is beat out Justin Fields, no problem, in their minds, And so you can get them to come for a decent price, and they're here until the next year, because then the next year, if all those kids go back, and then in 27 you have those 3 plus Arch plus Lenore. Who knows what Lenore Sellers is going to do? He needs to go back, and he needs to transfer out of there. And then you're going to also have Julian Sayin and C.J. Carr potentially. I mean, that could be a quarterback class of unbelievable talent. And guess what? We got 3 picks in that draft. Unbelievable. So we'll get one of them. I mean, it's hard to tell who's the best out of that group. But Sayin looks really good. On the other hand, he's got a loaded team that's basically beating up on his competition. I'd like to see him play some higher levels of competition. But the Big Ten is a little down at the moment just because of what's going on at Michigan for the most part. And then the Penn State, they fired their coach. Can't win the big game, James. Get out of here, they said. And so Penn State's a little down at the moment, and so is Michigan. So the Big Ten is kind of, down a little bit. But in other words, even if all those kids go back, all 3, I still think we're in good shape because 2027 is the year that we're supposed to start competing. And if all those kids go back and we get one of them with another year of experience under their belt, they should come in pretty pro ready, you would think. We already want them now. So if they take another year and have another good year, they should be that much more ready to compete, especially with the team we're going to put around them with all these freaking draft picks, right? So we're in good shape. And this is the beauty of what Muji has done. Now he's just got to hit on these picks. Muji's 11. I'm calling it like Ocean's 11. Muji's 11. And now we got to hit on him. But we got a good shot here, one way or the other. Muji has preserved optionality. That way, no matter what happens these next 2 years, we got an opportunity to really build the team that he and AG want to build. And let's hope it works. All right. See you next time.